All righty. All right. Welcome to Damon Bruce Plus. We are here on showus.tv today for a very special show. You know, I've done a lot of cool things in my broadcasting career. I've done an awful lot of interviews with hundreds of professional athletes and coaches, but something that I've never done before is talk to a young man as he's about to make his college commitment. That is going to happen in less than a half an hour from right now. A highly recruited four-star recruit from Southern California, Elijah Harmon, will be joining me, and he will be letting the entire world know where he is going to school this upcoming football season. It is between USC, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Oregon, and Texas A&M. And as you already know, a handful of those teams is sitting in a college football bracket right now. We got our fresh, hot brackets off the press this morning. And because it is college football, there will never be a situation where everyone looks at it and goes, okay, that's fair. That's equitable for everyone. And you have fan bases absolutely covered in joy today. You have some campuses that are as angry as they have ever been at the concept of college football selection committee. Notre Dame is already issuing press releases about how angry they are about everything. And here we go. I got to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not going to try to pass myself off as some deep knowledge of every roster college football expert. But what I am is someone who's been watching college football for an awfully long time. And I went to Indiana University. The amount of bad college football that I've seen in my life is more than anyone should ever have to watch. Measurably, the worst major college football program of my lifetime, of your lifetime, of anyone's lifetime. Today, for the first time ever, is the unanimous number one team in the country and the number one seed. Your grandmother driving a Prius had a better chance of winning a Formula One race than that ever happening. I mean, it's unbelievable the job that Kirk Cignetti has done in Bloomington and the job that he did last night in Indianapolis with his Hoosiers, a 13-10 win over Ohio State, and the surprise story of the season, a story that an awful lot of people wanted to deny. An awful lot of people even, didn't even want Indiana to be involved in this. Looked for reasons to say this is not a brand you can trust. They went to Autzen Stadium and changed an awful lot of people's mind, handing Oregon the only loss it suffered all year, and they did that in one of the hardest places to play in America. But still, Indiana was not going to be taken seriously until they went toe-to-toe with a big boy. Like, big win at Penn State, but Penn State, basically self-immolated this year. So what's going to happen to Indiana in the Big Ten title game against Ohio State? Reality is going to come crashing down, right? Wow. Wrong. Unbelievable. A dominant defensive line effort, a very good offensive line holding back an outstanding Ohio State defense. I mean, I know Ohio State's not happy they lost last night. That's an outstanding football team. But they ran into something that is actually happening, that is real. And that is just a staggering collection of talent accumulated from the kiddies table. I mean, and by the way, let me just tell you how good Cignetti is as a coach. What he's done in Bloomington is the equivalent of landing on the moon. I mean, when you coach at Alabama, you're supposed to win national championships. I would say a single Big Ten title for Cignetti is more impressive than Nick Saban winning 6 national championships at Alabama. There, that's supposed to happen. Over in Bloomington, that was never supposed to happen. Indiana beat Ohio State for the first time in 30 years. They win their first Big Ten conference for the first time in all of our lifetimes together in the sport of football. They beat a number one team in the country for the very first time with that. And it's just been unbelievable, because I think they punctuated the entire season with a Heisman campaign for Fernando Mendoza, who's just been unbelievable. And last night made the big throws. It wasn't a gaudy number game for him. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks are going to have gaudy numbers against Ohio State, but he won when it mattered the most. I tell you, it is great to have so many people in here. Thank you so much for watching today. We and this show are brought to you by Modelo, which is the college football playoff official beer sponsor. And college football playoff season is upon us. Grab yourself a Modelo and stay game ready all playoffs long. Be ready to go. You never know who's going to survive and advance. Modelo, the official beer sponsor of the college football playoffs. And if you're listening to this, they're recruiting you right now to pick up a Modelo and enjoy. Thank you very much. I tell you, I got supers coming in, and this is not normally how I run my own channel. I can't pop up these supers that I'm getting from you in the chat onto the screen, but thank you very much. Never Daunted is obviously very happy. The Iceman coming in. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a long-suffering Indiana fan, and my phone has been shaking since that game went final last night. I've been shaking a little since that game went final last night. And I'll tell you, as I look across this, I've got confidence in Indiana in ways I've never had before. It almost feels a little foreign to me. This is a really good team that could win it all. There is no doubt. By the way, I was out partying very late last night. Woke up a little oogie today because of the Hoosiers, but it was a price worth paying for sure. Let's take a look at this bracket and how it is actually seated. My producer, Caleb, can you bring up this bracket, please, for me so we can all see it and how this bad boy breaks down? I know that there are an awful lot of people who are upset that Notre Dame's not in there, upset that Alabama did reach this game. Let me just say this. As much as I think the committee got the decision to exclude Notre Dame in the name of adding Miami, since Miami had the head-to-head competition, I think they got that one right. The committee has an awful lot of explaining to do about how they set up this bracket and what really matters and the moving parts and how teams that aren't playing because they didn't qualify for national championship games get penalized, and teams that get blown out in conference championship games like Alabama get rewarded. Like, that just does not make much sense to me. And I know that there's an awful lot of hand-wringing among the punditry today that this was just a weird setup. So you got the Hoosiers sitting at number one. The Hoosiers are sitting at number one. They will be hosting they're going to be the host team at the Rose Bowl, for goodness sakes. I mean, that was just never, ever going to happen. And it happened. Indiana will be looking to play the winner of Oklahoma, Alabama. Now, I'm telling you, I don't think Alabama should be in this tournament. They could win this tournament. I didn't think Notre Dame should have been in this tournament. They could have won this tournament. These are very good college football teams. I'm not here to tell you that Alabama doesn't belong, because they could absolutely end up in a national championship game. That's just kind of what Alabama does over and over and over again. So Indiana will be awaiting the arrival of Alabama, Oklahoma. These two teams obviously very familiar with each other now that they're Oklahoma's in the SEC. This is an Oklahoma team that has a defense that has been really Johnny on the spot lately, too, carrying their offense, which is limping a little bit. This is a well-coached Brett Venables team. They have a good defense that is opportunistic, and they play special teams. When they needed the block punt, they've got the block punt this year. When they needed that block field goal, they got the block field goal this year. So Oklahoma, it's going to be interesting. There's no doubt about it. Tulane and Ole Miss. The winner of that will be taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. So Georgia smacked around Alabama. Like, Alabama had negative rushing yards in that game. A strong season for the Georgia Bulldogs, without a doubt. Kirby Smart knows how to coach. He knows how to win championships. This is a really good, loaded Georgia team, and they're officially scary. I got to tell you, as the 3 seed, I would much rather be getting the winner of Tulane, Ole Miss, like Indiana. If Indiana was at the 3 seed, I'd like their chances to advance even more. I think Georgia, by getting either Tulane or Ole Miss, and let's be honest, Tulane, great story. We'll talk about them a little bit. They're not going to be winning this thing. Maybe they take a game off of Ole Miss because of the unique situation that Ole Miss now finds itself in, with Lane Kiffin being, the persona non grata there. They're going to, the playoffs with their new head coach, Pete Golding. But the truth is, Lane Kiffin was that team's play caller. So expecting their high-powered offense to just look exactly the same without him, it's a little bit of a difference. So whatever Ole Miss, I think, was going to do in terms of deep run, I don't know if anyone's going to make it past Georgia. And again, Tulane, it's a great story. And I think everyone knows that Tulane's got great uniforms. You know, the Tulane is in New Orleans, and everyone likes everything about New Orleans. So that's cool, too. James Madison is where Cignetti came from before he got to Bloomington. And it just shows you what foundational groundwork that guy laid at one program that James Madison finds itself in the college football playoffs. I don't mean to be disrespectful. Congratulations, James Madison. If you went to James Madison, you're incredibly proud. Most people in the world couldn't even tell you what state James Madison played in. They're a massive off-brand team that has no shot to win this thing and should not be in ahead of Notre Dame, if we're talking about who's really set up to win this thing. And when we look at this bracket and we start talking about, did the committee get it right? They did not. And I think that this noble idea that you can crown one national champion, it's obviously the goal here, but that's just not what college football is anymore. I think college football needs to almost separate itself, not by conferences, but by payrolls. You know, we've had a Division I program, Division I AA, Division III. If you've got a payroll of $25 million or more, you can be in the big boy bracket, and we'll have another bracket for teams that aren't spending like that. It's almost like, you know, college or high school football that has different classes and levels based on school enrollments throughout the state. You know, a school with 300 students has no shot against a school with 5,000 students. Tulane, James Madison, fantastic seasons. Congratulations. I'm glad that you had an incentive to, hey, if we win, we could be in the playoffs thing to play for. But this isn't about giving access or granting, like, you know, good job college kids anymore. This is professional athletes, kids. These are the pros. This is professional football. It is the other professional league out there right now, college football. There's the NFL and there's this. And there's really no difference between the two of them anymore, beyond some rules. 2 feet over here for it to be a catch, 1 foot over here. These are high salaries, highly paid, deep teams. And if you can play in that pond, you can come and be in this conference championship pond. You can come and get into this playoff pond. If you aren't comfortable in this pond, you shouldn't be asked to be a sacrificial lamb when everyone is leaning in for the most important games of the year. Now, look, here, James Madison proved me wrong. Tulane proved me wrong. I think Cinderella shows up to another NCAA tournament, though, not necessarily the football playoff one. And look, Indiana, definitely a Cinderella story, but when you go undefeated in the Big Ten, I don't care who was or wasn't on your schedule. There's nothing else to say. You're an undefeated Big Ten team. That's a monster. You know, oh, well, they didn't play Michigan. You know, but they did play Ohio State, didn't they? How'd they do? You know, so I think this group of, you know, 5 contenders, it's time that college football basically say, look, you got to be committed to doing this. Let's just be totally honest. This should be a 4-conference tournament. It should be the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. Our champion will not be coming from another division, another conference. You know, the American is not producing a championship. The Sun Belt is not producing a champion, if you ask me about it. So prove me wrong, make sports great, and upsets are fantastic. But I just think that, you know, there are a couple teams, Notre Dame specifically, that if they were in this tournament, you could make the argument that they had like the second or third best shot to actually win it. You know, Texas is not in this tournament. They weren't even around the conversation to be in this tournament. How many touchdowns would Texas be favored over Tulane or James Madison if they were put on a schedule tonight? So did you get your bracket right? I don't think the conference committee really did at all. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech are your bye teams. They don't have to play that opening week, because they're sitting already with their byes. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, now, again, an explosive offense and a defense that they invested some big-time money in. And what do you know? Texas Tech goes from being an also-ran with a level of money. Look at where they are. Look at how good they are right now. Their only loss was a decisive one to BYU, but then comes the Big 12 title game, and bam, statement made, BYU, because of that, you're out. That's just the way that goes. That is just the way that goes. Didn't go like that, though, for Alabama, did it? The only 3-loss team got hammered in the SEC title game, but still finds a way in. I'm telling you, I'm not going to talk too much shit about Alabama, because that could be Indiana's next opponent. And who could ever favor the Hoosiers over Alabama with any win-loss record? I get it. I'm brand aware of where Indiana is in the pecking order, even as they sit unranked number 1 in the country. Again, I can hardly say that out loud without laughing. The sentences I've never used before. Indiana's waiting for the winner of Oklahoma, Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Never said that out loud before. Unbelievable. So, look, this is a bracket that a lot of people are hand-wringing about. Oklahoma finished very strong after a couple of losses. Again, they got a good defense, an opportunistic defense, and if that offense wakes up, there's something to be worried about when it comes to the Sooners. Alabama, Ty Simpson, absolute baller. He can show up, and you got yourself an awful good Alabama defense to deal with. When their offense clicks, they can be a monster, even at 10-3. But again, they just got clobbered in the SEC title game. I thought that they were going to be left out. I really did. The Miami Hurricanes. Lots of sighs of relief around Coral Gables today as Miami makes it in, obviously because of the weird ACC tiebreakers. Duke was in the ACC title game. That made very little sense, but they were there. Miami is in. One of the few teams ranked ahead of the champion contenders. Their strength is their straight up win over Notre Dame. That's their best win. And that head-to-head win is why Notre Dame isn't in here. And I would also say Notre Dame, in order to get in terms of the way this entire sport is moving, Notre Dame needs to join a conference. They need to be forced to join a conference, or basically told, you need to run the table if you really want to get in this thing. Notre Dame gets to pick and choose its own hand-selected, schedules, and that wouldn't be possible if they were in a conference. And if they're worried about having to make such an overwhelming argument because they're not in a conference, well, get in a conference. I'm going to tell you right now, Big Ten will throw Rutgers out tomorrow for Notre Dame. So that's an opportunity that they have had and completely ignored for years to their benefit. But don't give me this is the way it is. This is Notre Dame's tradition. Tradition has been spat upon in every single direction by college football, all of the directions. So Notre Dame's tradition is unimpressive to me. I mean, if you can have USC in the Big Ten, anything can happen. So I think it's time for Notre Dame to wake up and join a conference. Maybe this incentivizes them to do it. I'm sorry, what's that, Caleb? Yeah. Yeah. So let me just tell you, we are looking at a college bracket brought to you by Modelo. And Modelo right now, grab yourself one to stay game ready all season long. The official beer sponsor of the college football playoffs. If you're listening to this, it means you are being recruited right now. The Modelo Recruiter is scouting for the best full-time fans. So welcome, crack one open, and enjoy. We will be talking with Elijah Harmon soon. He is a 4-star recruit out of Inglewood High School. Very unique situation. He is still very much in demand between major programs after missing this season with an injury. But he is one of the highest ranked players in the state of California. He is a national top, I believe he is number 200 recruit in the country. He's a 4-star kid, and we're going to be getting to know him and where he is going to school soon. Looking forward to talking to him. Looking forward to talking to him. And by the way, I have seen a few people who are, not normally viewers of the channel who are here for that announcement. Let me tell you, no matter what decision the young man makes, respect it. Respect this young man's decision. Grown men telling young men that they've made a big mistake because you didn't select my college. That's one of the most pathetic things out there. Let's hopefully encourage everyone to not do that here during this show today. But man, it was a morning of, who's in, who's out, who's going to come in. And I think that the committee is going to have an awful lot of explaining to do. And Chris Fowler, who I saw earlier, say, last year after the committee's decisions, they made some tweaks. This is going to have to be changed around. And, Kirk Herbstreit even said, if where you are ranked throughout the year, before your resume is really complete, before anyone knows what you've really become as a football team, but a ranking a couple weeks ago means that while you're not playing, you're falling, and while other teams playing, they're rising. What are you supposed to evaluate there? Like BYU can't be in because they weren't a preseason better ranked team. If it's all about the ending point, you can't really have this starting point carry so much weight to it. And it obviously still does. The top 25 polls want to be relevant. ESPN wants fans engaged and angry and yelling at the TV every single night when that, here's our college football bracket playoff preview, even though it's a month away. Let's start talking about who's in, who's out. It's great content, but I don't think it serves the bracket very well if you're using origin points and origin stories trying to put together the final story of who deserves to be in and be out. Again, this goes back to, when were your losses? Notre Dame's losses were very early in the year, right? Notre Dame had a, loss early on to Miami, lost early in the year, and now have won 10 in a row. They've won 10 straight games. That's officially cooking. Alabama, meanwhile, they've lost 2 of their last 4 games. They got a win over a 5-6 rival by just their hair of their chinny chin chin. This is not an impressive end of the year run for Alabama. Should that have disqualified them? If being unimpressive at the beginning of the year is enough to disqualify, how about being unimpressive at the end of the year? How about being held by Georgia to negative rushing yards? Has that ever happened for an Alabama football team in a big game? I can't remember it. So really, this is kind of an interesting setup. Oh, and what makes this really interesting too is the whole Lane Kiffin situation, leaving Ole Miss, going to LSU, and being told by Ole Miss, you're going to a major rival, dude. You cannot coach this team any longer. Well, James Madison doesn't feel that way. James Madison's coach, Bob Chesney, is already hired by UCLA. He is going to be UCLA's next head coach. We've got the same thing going on with Tulane. John Summerall, he took the Florida job already. But they get to stick around and coach their teams. They get to stick around because they didn't choose like a straight up rival in our own conference that you're going to. Yeah. Wow. So Caleb, Caleb, when you tell that, can the audience hear you or not? Okay. All right. So there is Pete Thamel right now breaking news that Notre Dame will refuse a bowl game invitation. That's how angry they are about this. I'm going to tell you, there was some bowl out there who thought, man, Notre Dame not making the college football playoffs. That's pennies from heaven for us. They're going to be, a huge draw now. We're going to put Notre Dame in the Outback Bowl or whatever. Notre Dame is not going to go bowling. Wow. I told you that they were upset right now in South Bend. I told you that there were, they're out there screaming a touchdown Jesus. That is something else. Notre Dame will not accept a bowl invite They're the first team out of this BYU. I bet you BYU will still go to a bowl. They got to be angry, but they're still going to go. Notre Dame basically said, we're going to take our ball and go home. Man, that's rough. That is seriously, that is a rough decision for the seniors on that team, for guys who could put one more big high-profile game on tape for NFL recruits, for scouts. That is a big, big, big screw you guys. We're going home from Notre Dame to the College Football Selection Committee. And Notre Dame thinks that when it rattles its saber, it's going to get people's attention. This will absolutely get people's attention. Wow. Breaking news right now from Pete Thamel on ESPN that we indeed have an angry Irish team that will not accept a bowl invitation. How about that? What we do know is that Indiana is in the Rose Bowl. I'm pretty sure they're going to accept that invitation. The Cotton Bowl, again, this is another one of those things. So even though they lost the Big Ten title game, Ohio State deserves to get a bye. There's no doubt about that. Ohio State deserves to have a bye. They might actually have to play Texas A&M in Texas in the next round because they're sitting in the Cotton Bowl waiting for their opponent. Georgia is going to the Sugar Bowl. Texas Tech going to the Orange Bowl. And Elijah Harmon is a 4-star recruit. I'm so happy to be welcoming him here in just a second. Again, thanks to Modelo for sponsoring this show today here on showus.tv. We're going to be taking your calls. If you want to sign up to Chit Chat, we'd love to hear from you, college football fans. But right now, I'm very, very happy to welcome Elijah Harmon, a 4-star recruit from Inglewood High School. He is choosing between USC, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Oregon, and Texas A&M today. An incredibly exciting moment in this young man's life. And I got to tell you, Elijah, I hope you can hear me. I hope we're officially connected. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm very, very happy to meet you and be part of this moment for you. What a big moment that you've been working towards for years now. Tell us a little bit about you and this journey.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been an easy one. I got injured before the season, so just been working out since then. But it definitely hasn't been an easy one. I haven't always, it hasn't always gone how I wanted it to. But as I just kept working, that got better, and now I'm here.
Battling through injuries is an incredibly hard thing. I've talked to several professional athletes who have done it in their careers, and it's a lonely business. I'm imagining that being a young man in high school, knowing that an injury could rob you of opportunity, it's been an incredibly stressful time for you. Tell me a little bit about the injury, your rehab process, and if you thought of maybe, pushing back your eligibility, playing another year, showing more. Tell me why, even though through this injury, you feel the timing is right for you to make a commitment now.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, my injury kind of sped up the process for me. I was able to talk to my coach right after I got injured, and he kind of told me it's gonna be now is when you find out what school is really gonna rock with you, whether or not you're injured or not. So that's definitely something that I observed throughout the schools, and I just decided, through those 5 schools, those are the 5 schools that I feel really stay with me, and that. That's why there's my top 5, and I just chose out of that.
Elijah, can you tell me a little bit about the actual recruiting process and what it's like to hit campus and who you talk to? Is it does one school go about it much differently than the other, or are all the schools kind of taking you through the same process, and the only thing that changes are the hallways and the stadiums and the uniforms and the coaches that you're talking about?
I feel like everybody kind of does things a little differently, but it's all kind of the same thing. They all kind of picture the same image that that they're gonna develop me to the best of my abilities, that the academics is right, etc. So I feel like the really only difference is just the campus, the fans, what the atmosphere is like at the school, and then like the city or town that it's in.
At what point does NIL start coming up in the conversation? Is it early in the process, or is it a little later?
That's a little later in the process. I'm not really too worried about that yet. I'm still in high school. I'm not in college yet, so I just want to worry about being the best D lineman I could be in high school, and then when that time comes to worry about that, we'll worry about that.
Tell me about your strengths as a football player, as a defensive lineman. What are you good at? What do you need to improve to really succeed at the highest level of college football?
I feel like what really separates me from other D linemen is how much I study the game, how much I know the game. Um, like I feel like I could almost teach it now. So like just really with the injury, it allowed me to kind of sit back and look at the game from a different perspective. So I feel like that's what kind of separates me.
A lot of technique, a lot of working on technique. You're a hand fighter, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Tell me who you've got around you. It looks like you're surrounded by friends, families, loved ones. Who have you got with you today?
This is my little brother right here. This is my other little brother, and then my dad and head coach right here. Got my mom over there.
Oh, fantastic. I wish we could squeeze everybody into the picture. I tell you, what I want to do is give you the floor. You can have your family come in around you, you have your coaches behind you, gather around, because this is a moment that you've been waiting for a long time. I know those that surrounded you with love and support have been waiting for this moment, and we're very excited for you. So, Elijah, the floor is yours. You got it. Where are you going to school?
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I would like to give thanks to God. You know, without Him, obviously, none of this would be possible. After that, I wanna thank my parents and my whole support. You know, just for their sacrifices and their endless support throughout this whole journey. You know, wherever I go, they say wherever I go, they're gonna support me. So, and then lastly, just I want to thank the players and coaches and trainers that have helped me better my game day in and day out. Yeah. With that being said, I'll be going to the University of Oklahoma.
Congratulations, Brett Venables. I hope you're watching right now. You're getting a very good young man coming to your town. And here's the thing, Oklahoma could be coming to your town. I know you're in Southern California. Oklahoma beats Alabama. They'll be in the Rose Bowl. That's an hour and a half drive for you, right? Are you going to be at the Rose Bowl?
It ain't too far. It ain't too far. But we got to worry about getting there first. We got to worry about getting there.
There you go. Take it one at a time. Congratulations, young man. Tell me about the school. What appealed most to you about Oklahoma and why it felt right?
Yeah, really just development was like coming into the whole recruiting process. That was my biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I told every college coach that asked me, really anybody that asked me. That's my number one thing. So I just feel like started from the head coach with Coach Venables, just him being the defensive coach. And then Coach Todd Bates, one of the best D linemen in the country to do it. So, yeah, really just that's kind of what pushed them over the edge for me, just that development part. And then just like when I went out there, they showed me the best time. They've been recruiting me the hardest since they've been able to communicate with me freely since June 15th. So yeah, I feel like that's the best place for me. That's home.
I like that I'm getting waved at. Thank you very much for waving. I got to ask your father. How proud of you are you of your son in this moment and the journey that he has taken to get to this point, and then the journey that he's about to go on?
Extremely proud, man. But I see the hard work. I see it in him. He's ready to put in the work, and I'm right here behind him to support him any way I can.
That's awesome. By the way, I hope you like Norman. I hope you like heading to Oklahoma. You're going to be heading to a lot of games, I hope. So this is really a fantastic Elijah moment for you. Thank you so much for doing this on my channel and sharing this with your audience and your social media reach. I really appreciate it. And as far as I'm concerned, you're my number one favorite Sooner of all time now. I will be rooting for you. I will be rooting for you more than anyone who has ever worn that uniform or ever will. Congratulations, young man. That was fantastic. Elijah, thank you so very much. Any last words? Anything else you need to say to the world?
And that was Boomer Sooner.
That's it. I knew. You see, we set it up for it. Perfect. Thank you very much to Elijah Harmon. Great, great stuff. What a great moment. I'm so honored to have been a part of it. Thank you so much for having me in this today. Thank you very, very much. Excellent stuff. Thank you. Thank you. And we want to let every. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Ali.
Oh, there we go. We got Elijah disconnecting on his end. Caleb, if you could bring him down, let me just tell everyone that Elijah's announcement, his commitment announcement, brought to you being left out of the 12-team college football playoff on Sunday. As a result, the Fighting Irish said that they've made the decision not to participate in a bowl game this season. Again, why are they angry at the bowl game that did want them? They should be angry at the college football playoffs that didn't want them. And by the way, what Notre Dame just said, and this is not a message that college football wants to send, because they got a lot of bowl games that they're going to run past you that, because they're not playoff games, mean less. Notre Dame just told you these other bowl games are meaningless, mean nothing to us. That's not a good message to be sending across college football. The Irish had been ranked in the top 10 of every college football playoff ranking release until this Sunday morning, where they were placed number 11 and were the first team out. Miami, which beat Notre Dame in week 1, moved ahead of the Irish in the final rankings to take the final at-large berth. Okay. Hey, you know what, Notre Dame? Maybe if you were in a conference, you wouldn't have just been twiddling your thumbs at home, waiting for other teams to have another chance to impress while you are, gloriously independent and don't have to deal with a conference championship game. By the way, I just saw Alabama get smoked in a conference championship game and get in front of you with an extra loss. So, I know that Notre Dame wants to blame everything but their own way of doing things, but at some point that needs to be reexamined by Notre Dame more than they need to tell the college football committee, you got it wrong. I'll say this too. If you'd like to ask Damon a question, feel free to hit that participate button. Thoughts on Oregon's path? I see that right now. All I can tell you is that Oregon could absolutely win this entire thing. And Oregon has, as much as teed up to be a win game as you're going to find. James Madison going to Autzen. I think Oregon's going to be favored heavily in that game. Now, maybe the Dukes totally surprise us, but I think Dan Lanning is a stud. I think they got the best tight end in the country. If their quarterback is on it, they are really tough to beat. They are fast everywhere. I think Oregon is their offense is just so consistent. Oregon's got to love its path. Oregon's got to be thrilled. Again, Indiana being the number 1 seed in this, I don't think catches them an easy situation at all. How come Indiana doesn't get the winner of James Madison? Maybe I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. I'm thinking about 4 different things at once. Maybe college football needs to do a little play-in to the bracket. The way that they have the first 4 to play in to the actual NCAA tournament. Maybe now you get your power, your non-conference, your power 5, the others who are not ACC, Big 10, SEC, Big 12. You have them play a little bit of a tournament. You have 4 teams whittled down to 1 there, and then that team gets to go to the big tournament. Again, I don't want to ruin the stories of Tulane or James Madison at all. They did everything a football team can do. That's play who's on your schedule successfully, build a resume. Who are you at the end of the year? These are very good teams at the end of the year. But they don't play the week in, week out competition that the big boy conferences play. And that alone, I think, should just have them in the group of the others. And don't tell me that that's not unfair, because this is no longer equitable. It is haves and have-nots. It is major conferences rating lesser conferences to take the teams they think will add value, and the teams that are left behind, it's an indictment that you're not quite among this group. Nobody likes to hear that about their university. Nobody likes to hear that about their campus, but it's the truth. And I just think we've got, a few minor league teams here in a major league tournament, and that is unfair to the exclusion of other major league teams. And it's, the minor league team is just thrilled to be there for sure. I don't know how fair it is to them. I guess fair isn't a question. They're just happy to have the opportunity to play as big of a game as that university will ever participate in. Again, I don't like crapping on the little guy at all, but I don't think that there's any room for the little guy in major college football anymore. And obviously, this committee, this bracket, this selection process is going to be dissected like never before. I don't want further expansion. I don't need it to be a 16-team league, a 16-team playoff. I don't need it to be 18 teams. I don't need it to be 22 teams. I think there should be an absolute freeze on changing things around college football forever. Not forever, like for 20 years. Like, can we just let the dust settle? It feels like we are reinventing the wheel every lap. So I wish college football would just kind of let the dust settle on so much player movement. So much. Fix when or not coaches can start committing to other teams. So what's happening with Lane Kiffin and company isn't happening. Fix your transfer portal where the window is a little less intrusive to just running a football team. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of moving parts that come with the transfer portal. And I don't think it should just be unlimited transfer portals. You should get to do it maybe once or twice in your career. Choose carefully. Choose carefully. I think it's good to be able to get out of a bad situation, but if you have to get out of 9 bad situations, maybe maybe it's you. I mean, we've got guys in college who have more player mobility than professional athletes. You basically get to hit free agency at the end of every season. I'm going to tell you right now, the 2 kids who scored touchdowns for James Madison next year ain't going to be at James Madison when they score those touchdowns at Autzen Stadium. They're going to be identified as a player that some other bigger conference school is going to come after. Indiana won an awful lot with James Madison players following Cignetti to Bloomington in year 1 of Cignetti's tenure here. This is year 2. And again, they're the unanimous number 1 team in the country. Just unbelievable. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Aaron Glatzer and Steve Marshall of ShowUs.tv. Steve, especially you, he's a Hoosier. He's really happy today, just like me. I was texting him last night. I'm like, can you believe it? He's like, no, I can't believe this. Thank you to Caleb, who's producing today and has been the only producer that I've worked with doing these shows. I thank him an awful lot for his hard work. Great stuff from him. And of course, we want to thank Elijah Harmon for being here. A 4-star recruit, is no longer a recruit. He is committed to the University of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner for Elijah Harmon. How great to see the joy across his entire family's face when he made that announcement. That was really cool to be a part of it. We need to do more of these. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to everyone at Show Us TV. Thanks again to the James Sports Group in California, a marketing company with a large focus in empowering and prioritizing student athletes. Thanks to them. And thanks again to Modelo. I love a Modelo. Absolutely love a Modelo. College football playoff season is upon us, and the Modelo Recruiter is scouting for the best full-time fans. And if you are watching this today, if you are part of this today, guess what? You're already being scouted. Grab yourself a Modelo to stay game ready all season long. Modelo, the official beer sponsor of the college football playoffs. Thanks to all of you for being here today and watching this one. I was excited to just do a college football show. And I mean, Indiana's the number 1 team in the country. By the way, we should cancel the entire college football playoffs and just crown Indiana right now. I'm comfortable with that. Thank you so much for watching. And please do remember that sports don't build character, they reveal it. Thank you, ShowUs.tv. Like that, he's gone.